Welcome, everyone, back to the Aging and Spirituality podcast. I'm Kathy Taylor, and this is
Chris Jensen.
And today we're going to be talking about some myth-busting information that can be very valuable for people that think they're having senior moments. And you know what I'm talking about. Senior moments are when you forget your keys, or you walk into another room and you stand there going, why did I walk into this room? We call those senior moments. But Chris has such an interesting take on what a senior moment is. And we're going to let her talk about that because the truth is, it probably doesn't have anything to do with aging. So I'm going to let Chris take over and talk about senior moments.
Yes, and we call this a myth because most of the problem when we forget where our keys are or when we walk into the room and forget why we came in is because we are not paying attention. It's not just people who are over 65 who do this. 30-year-olds do it, 20-year-olds do it. And we don't call it senior moments when they do it. We just laugh about it. And the main problem is lack of focus and concentration. And as we get older, we want to put more time into getting better at focus and concentration, just because anytime we forget anything, someone's going to say, oh, it's a senior moment, and think that we have a deeper problem. But most of the time, it's because our mind is elsewhere.
Okay, so can I ask you a question? Because I know you have the answer to this, but in my mind, I'm thinking about as we get older, is it because there is so much more going on in our lives that it's hard to focus or concentrate? Or is it because we're never taught how to focus and concentrate? And it really is a skill.
Well, it's both of those things. It's both of them. Most people do not ever learn anything about concentration.
Right.
And focus. And that's part of the problem, because we can all learn to be better at focus. When I started practicing yoga, probably 40 years ago, the average attention, I hate to admit it, but
I don't say those numbers.
And at that time, the average attention span in the US was 11 seconds. Now, the average attention span is 6 seconds.
Yeah, or less, yeah, for sure.
Because of, we have all of our media and everything is quick and one thing coming in and another. People try to multitask. Multitasking is another myth. Our brain is not set up to multitask.
Right.
We think we're doing that, but one task is going to suffer when we're doing multiple tasks. So we need to learn and give ourselves some time and some patience learning how to really focus our mind and how to concentrate better. And then all the daily things that take our attention away, if we want to focus, we'll know how to bring ourselves back. Like we may walk into that room and forget why we came in there because our mind wasn't there. Our mind was somewhere away in, maybe in Europe somewhere while we're walking to another room. But if we catch ourselves and we know how to focus, we bring our attention back, we'll get it back.
Well, okay, so I hate to interrupt your train of thought, but maybe it would be beneficial for people to understand and take a look at what is the difference between focus and concentration. Because I understand what you're saying because I've been meditating for a lot of years. So I understand that there is another level of focus that becomes a concentrated effort. It's what we call a concentration in meditation and yoga. So maybe you could just talk about what the difference is so people can really see what we're trying to distinguish here.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Focus is just keeping your mind on what the task is at hand, what you're planning to do at this time. And, most of us have a lot of mind drift. If I was to tell you, think about an apple right now, or think about a monkey, your mind would go all over the place because we naturally drift. So focus is being able to stay on task for some period of time. Now, in yoga, we do a lot of techniques, a lot of meditative techniques and other simple techniques that you can do in, for 5 minutes. It doesn't have to be a long period of time. But what that does is it helps us to keep our attention on a particular object or sound for a period of time so that when we want to really concentrate on something, we can keep our mind on it without the drift happening, without having to, we'll always having to bring it back. You will just go in a flow. So that's concentration is focus to the nth degree. It's focus that is very linear, going straight towards what we want to put our attention on.
Well, it's an interesting idea, and I'm just going to elaborate here because this might help people understand why we love to meditate. Like when people talk about mindfulness, I'm thinking that ability to focus is really what they're talking about. The ability to be in the present moment is a focus. And oftentimes it's very hard to keep that for even minutes, which is crazy, but you have to practice at it because there is so much coming at us in the world, especially in these times, even more in these times, right? But when you get to the place where you are still and you have been focusing for a few minutes, and as you learn to meditate, you start to recognize that point where you go into concentrating. And it feels completely different, but you know that there is a letting go process there. You know that there is a some kind of a release. What am I trying to describe? You can recognize it, and the part of you that recognizes it goes, okay, good, this is meditation. I'm going in the right direction. And that's how you get in past the mental and emotional drifts that are bringing you back. When you recognize that concentrated awareness, you can go, okay, this is good. I'm going in the right direction. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's absolutely it. You're going in the right direction. And if you keep going, most people will stop there. They go, oh, this is better than anything I've experienced before. And, let's stop
or it feels a little scary, right? Sometimes
it's different.
It's different.
It's different. And it may be a little disorienting because it's different. Right. But if you keep going, then what happens is you're actually, in yoga, we say you're going beyond the mental activity and the emotional activity. Yes. And you're going to a place inside that is very peaceful.
Yes.
We've all experienced that on occasion, that incredible peacefulness. Well, we're going to that place if we just keep going.
So I love that. And this is, I hope I'm not taking you off track, but it's actually answering some of my questions. So maybe other people have it as well. And when I get to that point of concentration, me being very Rajasic and loving to be in that third eye place, right? I often find that what I need to do is the moment I am aware, okay, I'm at that place where I might be concentrating, I open my heart, because that energy of bhakti will throw me right in to that where I want to go. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And depending on a person's nature and how open their heart is, that is really a great thing. When the heart opens, that throws you in. It's the fastest way to get in there. If your heart can open, it will bypass all of your work on concentration and take you right into that place.
Well, there's your hot tip for the day, meditators, right there. You feel like you're getting into it, go into the bhakti, it'll take you right there.
Right.
That's perfect.
Right. The bhakti will take you there. It just depends on what works for you. And it's different on a different day. No matter what your nature is. Like for me, 90% of the time, bhakti works, but there are some days when I do different practices.
Well, that makes me feel so that makes me feel so much better knowing that you're like the ultimate bhakti for me. And there are lots of days where I'm just going, oh man, here we are again, standing there in the third eye going, oh, waving, having fun up there, but not getting where I want to go, So I love that. That's a great reminder.
Well, I remember one time when I had literally all of life's major stresses happening at once, and I spoke to our teacher, the yoga master at Yoga Center, Ramakrishnananda, and asked him, I was asking him what to do at that point, and he said, just instead of my bhakti practices, he said, do a practice of oneness, which is a practice of being up here in the side, above the head. And in a practice of oneness, you just sense that everything is part of the one. You just keep trying to affirm that until you really sense it. And because I was having all of these major stresses and it was very painful, that was a better way for me to go during that period of time. That helped me to be much more focused. And then
Okay.
when I got through that, I went back to my normal practices.
Okay, so you always do things that make me ask questions.
Yeah.
So if you're in a really painful place, right?
Right.
And we're telling you, oh, just go to the bhakti, get in your heart. No, that's not gonna work because
Yeah.
it's too dang painful and you can't wait to get out, right?
Right.
So when you're experiencing the oneness, you're saying that the energy is more centered in the crown chakra, and that's what allows you to not focus on the heart, but not also not pretend it's not there. You're not,
Right. Right.
you're not ignoring
Right.
it, but
Right.
you're able to center more in the crown chakra, which is amazing.
Right. And there's a simple practice of just having sensing white light up there and just bringing it down over your brain and your face. That helps to calm the mind down when the mind is really going.
Okay, well, I have gabbed at you and taken you off track, I'm sure, in more than one places. So you wanted to talk about the problem of focus and concentration and how to improve those. And you were going to give us a simple technique. So let's do that.
Yeah, there's some very simple techniques for improving our focus and concentration. One that is a very traditional yoga technique, and you take a candle and you use a candle flame. And I'm going to recommend, because I don't want anyone burning their house down, I'm going to recommend that you might want to use an electronic candle. It's fine, you know, when a battery operated one.
Yeah, exactly.
It's great. So the idea is you want to look at the flame and you want to look at it, don't stare, but just let your eyes relax, just gaze at it for maybe 2 minutes or so, then close your eyes and try to keep the image of that flame in your mind. Now your mind's going to drift. When it does, bring it back, open your eyes, go back to looking at the candle, and keep doing that for a while. Do it for 5 or 10 minutes. If you do that 5 or 10 minutes a day, you'll be impressed with how quickly your concentration improves.
Right.
Now that's one method. That's a very good traditional.
I still use that one after all these years.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm really when I get my mind just is really being a rascal, I can take that one out and put it in my third eye just so that I'm sensing it's right there. And the idea of the flame, I think, also calms the mind. But I also make sure that I'm looking straight ahead at it and not looking down, which, as you know, will throw you into the subconscious. So I get it up in this area of the forehead, and with that flame in the third eye, it just feels so calming. You wouldn't think, because it's like a fire, you might think that would be exciting, but it isn't. It's very, very calming.
Yeah, it is. And there is another option. If you don't like doing the candle flame, or somehow that doesn't work for you, you don't have a candle around,
right?
Find an object. It could be anything. It could be an apple. It could be some beautiful beach that you're at, something that is appealing to you, and just visualize it. Just close your eyes and try to hold it in your mind. And if your mind drifts, you just gently keep bringing your attention back. Don't force it back. Just be gentle with it. But it's important it be something that you like, that you feel friendly towards. That was a technique I did when I first started practicing yoga. I had a mind that was so busy. Not only did I have one set of thoughts going, but I had also a reporter reporting on the first set of thoughts. It was just constantly going. And I did a practice like that, and the reporter stopped. So I had only one thought going. And so, so that's just another option that you can.
Yes. And we are also different. I mean, Chris and I always want to be really clear. What works for us doesn't necessarily work for you. This is why we talk about this so much, because over the years that Chris has been teaching and I've been meditating, we have discovered so many different things that we shapeshift for ourselves, like what you're talking about. People will say, okay, go imagine a beach. That's going to make you feel relaxed. Guess what? Beaches do not make me feel relaxed. I mean, the sound of a wave might make me feel relaxed, but the idea of sitting on sand, being near the beach line and people and dogs, it does not make me feel relaxed. So I don't do that, So I'll do something more like, I'll take an open sky I'll take a big sky, just picturing absolute nothingness, but this huge expanse of sky opens me up and makes me feel safe and relaxed. So that's how important it is to really personalize your meditation experiences and practice different things as you go, because depending on who you are on the inside is going to really determine what works for you. That's what's so great about the Yoga Center of California. We have always focused on the individual nature and what works for somebody, and we have so many different types of yoga that we learn that the pool is just unlimited. There's so many things that we can do for people. So anyway, I wasn't trying to promote. I'm just saying that's what was really, unusual about the Yoga Center of California that I discovered when I first came into it.
Yeah, it's important that you find what fits your nature, because as Kathy said, we are all very, very different. And it's important that one technique that might be great for her would leave me frustrated, and vice versa. So you've got to experiment and try different things. That's why I try to give options, like when we were talking about things that will help us to focus better. I try to give you a couple of options because we don't know what's going to work for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's something else I should mention. We're talking about, breaking the myth of the senior moments, but there are times when someone is having a problem. And, if someone is asking a question and you answer it, and 10 minutes later, they ask the same question again, and they're forgetting very important things, then, that's a situation where it might be worthwhile just getting checked out and seeing if there is a problem.
Right.
But that's different than what people typically call the senior moments, which we don't believe are really.
Yeah, it's important to make that distinction. People do have memory problems and do have things that go on with their brain depending on how they've treated their body as they age. And that really is the bottom line. Are you eating right? Are you exercising? Are you keeping an open mind? Are you practicing your yoga? Are you living in harmony? Those are the things that'll take you, to a place where those numbers don't make any difference, But we're not negating, of course, the fact that there are people that have trouble as they get older. That definitely happens. So you wanted to talk about things that we can do to have better peace of mind, or there was something also you were going to talk about in the End of an Alzheimer's book that maybe.
Yes, I wanted to mention that. There is an excellent book called The End of Alzheimer's. It's by a Dr. Dale Bredesen, and he was a medical researcher and a doctor, and he studied Alzheimer's for years with a team of other doctors. And he wrote this book. He wrote the book mainly to help people with prevention of Alzheimer's and dementia. But he is actually helping to reverse it. And I read this book and I was unbelievably impressed. One of the things was a case study of a woman who had Alzheimer's and got into his protocol. And she said her description was it was like she was in a fog. And then after she got into this protocol, the fog cleared. And so it was actually reversed it in a number of cases. And there was even another doctor who was, saying he was poo-pooing this doctor and everything. And then that particular doctor got Alzheimer's himself, and so went on to the protocol, and it helped him. And so he started using it with his patients. And it's very interesting because, as Kathy mentioned, it's about eating right. It's about exercising. It's about toxins and hormones. There's a lot of different things. And the protocol that this doctor puts people on when they do have Alzheimer's, it's very strict. And he said a lot of people fail because they just can't do it. They can't change their eating habits. They had a lifetime of eating a certain way, and they just can't do it. But for the ones who do, it works. And he said he mainly wrote this book for prevention. He said if people can, watch their diet, watch their exercise. I recommend reading the book because he does recommend a lot of good things about diet and types of exercise and toxins to be aware of.
Toxins that you have to get rid of from your body, right?
Yeah. I mean, I threw away all my nonstick pans. So
Well,
because
you
of the
did.
toxins you
Okay.
can absorb from it, you know.
Okay, so you said the book is called End of Alzheimer's, is
The
that
End of
what?
Alzheimer's, yeah. And
And the
the
doctor is?
author is Dale Bredesen, Bredesen.
Okay, very good. I'll definitely read that. I'm constantly, of course, at my age, looking at what I need to do for my body, because I talk a lot, as a life coach, I talk a lot about self-care.
Mhm.
And it's still shocking to me that people get to their 50s and 60s and have never stopped to think, what is all this stuff that I'm putting in my body doing to
Yeah.
me? Why do I have these aches and pains and all this inflammation and all this stuff going on? And they don't relate it to their diet at all, which is absolutely crazy, because America has one of the worst diets in the world.
It does. It does. I mean, yeah, we have the biggest problem with that.
We do. I was reading this morning just about the blue zones where they live to be in their hundreds. And, their
Oh.
diets are so beautiful and so clean and so, pure. We could all learn from that. And it is hard if you go 50 or 60 years and then somebody tells you to stop eating this or whatever it is. It's going to be hard to change that habit. But the switch in your brain should be, do I want to live a quality life, or do I want to struggle through this for the rest of my life? That was this conversation I had with my mother all the time, who recently just transitioned at 90, but she would not give up her sugar and her ice cream. And she suffered so much in her later years with just physical health. So it really becomes about that. Self-care means you have to acknowledge you have a body. It's telling you when it feels inflamed. It's telling you when it needs relaxation and a release of tension. We talk about this all the time. Chris, we haven't talked about your personal postures, but Chris does yoga, full postures every morning. You never hear her talking about having aches and pains and glitches in the system, because she has made releasing tension a habit. I mean, it's so critical, so you have to get to that place where the quality of your life is much more important than what you're putting in your mouth. The fact that you're going to take 30 minutes to do some postures in the morning and really enjoy yourself, because you're really learning to build a relationship with yourself. That, how does my body feel? I should be listening to that, because it's telling me when I'm doing something that is not good for it, and I can't keep ignoring it, because there will be consequences. So for me, self-care has been all about learning how to pay attention to my body on so many different levels.
Yeah, and in yoga, we say it's the difference between the good and the pleasant. If pleasant for you is eating a bunch of sugar,
yes,
it's not good for you. And what's
not
going to
pleasant
happen
for the body.
Yeah, you're going to feel miserable.
Yeah.
And if you choose the good, not eating the sugar, having a good diet, you're going to get a lot more pleasant.
Yes,
that's
absolutely true. And the good news is, folks, that you're trying to give up sugar, or you're addicted to one food or another, when you get past it, you really don't look back. There's no suffering in it. You just know that you've done something that's right for your body, and that's going to help you have days that are much more full of vitality and joy and peace, because you're not on the phone telling everybody how your whatever part of your body doesn't feel good. It's like, damn, don't you get tired of that? I get tired of that crap. That's for sure. That's my whole gig, wanting to be vital, in this part of my life. And it takes more effort. That's just the bottom line.
Yep.
So, okay. So is there any other tips and tricks you want to give people about memory, or even self-care, or
I think that's enough to chew on for right now. Work with those techniques of focus. And remember, it takes, in terms of anything, diet or whatever, it takes 3 weeks to have a new habit start. So give yourself a little time, and give yourself some time with working on the focus and concentration techniques. And you've got to do it regularly. And after a few weeks, you'll start to see a difference.
Well, I like that. But let me just ask you one other thing. Maybe you can give people a tip about this. So say I am a complete sugar addict. I know that if I'm going to eat sugar, it's going to cause a commotion of wanting to have more,
Mhm.
because that's what sugar does. The minute you put it in, you're going to crave it again. And I know this because I've just recently gone through really facing having insulin resistance because I had sugar for way too many years. And so I've had to go to a real low carb way of eating so that I could get the cells healthy enough so the pancreas isn't pumping out insulin all the time, because this causes so much chaos in the body. So let's say that you have a sugar thing that you think you can't give up. Is there some yogic technique that we can give to people that would help them in that moment when they're just about to reach out and stuff that piece of sugar in their mouth?
Yeah, think of something, if you know a yoga technique, like chanting the word Om, do something like that. That'll shift gears for you. There was a yogi who was a very great yogi called Sri Ramakrishna, and one of his devotees was an alcoholic.
Oh, right, right.
And so this devotee, Girish Ghosh, he would, what Ramakrishna, he said he couldn't meditate, he couldn't do any of the practices to help him stop drinking. And so Sri Ramakrishna said to him, okay, drink, but every time you pick up the bottle, think about me.
Wow.
And he did that.
Wow,
and
that's powerful. I love that.
Yeah, after a while, he couldn't do it. He couldn't do it. And he became,
and he stopped drinking.
He stopped drinking and
Wow.
yeah, ultimately became a very great yogi. So yeah, something like that,
Yes, even that moment of pausing, like you pick up a chocolate. In my case, it would probably be a C's chocolate. And I'd be looking at that thing going, okay, God, what do you think about that? Well, it's probably gonna taste good. And then you're gonna feel like crap.
Yeah.
And then
do I really want to feel like crap?
Do I really want to feel like crap? And then I'm going to put it down for that seconds that I'm not paying attention to it. And if you do that enough times, I know it sounds silly and it's a little thing, but it really will. And really what you just said, the story about Girish Ghosh, is if you are connecting inside, if you're going to that inner true self, that part of you knows what's the right thing to do at that moment. And it will help you get over that. Maybe distract you and maybe just wipe away the craving for it, whatever it is. You're asking your inner self to empower you to be able to do this in a way that you don't have to suffer and struggle with this every day. And once you make that connection, it becomes very easy to look at a chocolate and go, yep, that doesn't have any power over me anymore.
Yep. It works.
So, it works. Yeah, connecting to the inner self definitely works. That's what we love talking about here. Okay, lovely person. So did we talk about all the things that we wanted to do today?
Yeah, I think we covered it and we gave people a lot to work on this week. So
hey,
yeah, we'd love to hear from you and see if you're making progress with this stuff.
Absolutely. You can reach us. There's an outro at the end of this that tells you where you can reach us. And we would love to hear from you. If you have questions, definitely get a hold of us and we will include them in our upcoming podcasts. Okay, sending you big love. See you.
Bye.
Bye.